I had the preconceived notion that it would be hard to find people in the lawn care landscaping industry because it's seasonal. So I was focused on just finding people to get by or finding people just for the season and not looking at the bigger picture of what if I grew more stuff in the winter time to provide them year round stuff, that means I could hold them on longer. If you're focusing on the fact that it's going to be hard to find employees or bad employees or whatever, I think that's what's going to be attracted to you more. But when I switched my mindset that if I start thinking that I'm only going to find good employees or they are easy to find employees or you change your business so that people want to be attracted to your company and what you're offering and that word of mouth from all your friends or people who work for you or see what you're doing, then you're going to find better employees that way because they'll be drawn to you.
Welcome to the Roll Up and Roll Out podcast. Sit down with blue-collar business owners and inspired entrepreneurs to get the industry insights from the leaders that grow our local communities and learn how to scale your business. Regardless of GED, these people know how to GSD. Here is your host, Paul Childers. Let's get to work.
Welcome back to another episode of Roll Up and Roll Out, where we feature blue-collar business owners who know how to get shit done, because who needs your GED when you can GSD? So today I have the pleasure of having Dylan Brassette, the owner of Patriot Lawn and Landscaping, on with us today. And Dylan, just give a brief introduction. Tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the company.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Paul. Like you said, Dylan Brassette here with Patriot Lawn Landscaping, located in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Been in the lawn care, landscaping, snow removal industry for about 10 years now. Been running it as an owner for roughly 5 years. Got a wife, 3 kids, and 2 dogs. Love to hunt and hang out with the family in the free time. Play a little golf.
Play a little bit of golf. That's something that more people probably would do if it wasn't so mentally stressful. So tell me, man, I mean, like any business owner, right? Like you've got your time commitments that you got to do with your work, with the kids and, the dogs, and then your hobbies. Like, what are some things that you do to find time for all that stuff? Because one thing I do know is that when you unplug from work, it's super important to plug into something else.
Yeah, the thing I've learned the most is it's called my get shit done list or my critical task list. So what I usually try to do is the night before, the morning of, is I usually try to put down 5 things for myself, business wise, that needs to get done, and then roughly 5 things personally. And then I get those done at the beginning of the day as fast as I can. That way I have more time later on in the day to focus on the stuff with my family or other things that interest me. I think setting my priorities too, of what when you have your priorities in line, like, your faith, your family, your business, hobbies, whatever order that is, you focus on those first. Whatever time you have allowed, once you get your shit done, then you can focus on the other ones.
Okay. What, outside of work, what would you say, besides your family too? I'll even go a little bit deeper than that. But so outside of work, outside your family, like what is your what's your zen? Like what's the one thing that you love and look forward the most to go do that just recenters you?
Honestly, being in the outdoors, archery hunting and bow hunting and any type of hunting for me, or just spending time outside has been always the biggest thing that makes me reach, gets back into my serenity per se, connects me with God and nature. Is honestly, since I was a kid, anytime most of my wife will even say is like she'll retell, especially during, the hunt season or towards fall, when I'm not able to hunt all summer or whatever, she's like, you just need to go sit in a fucking tree stand. Just go in a tree stand, relax, think, collect your thoughts, man. And so that's awesome that I have my wife there to support me with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, it's funny. I've done hunting a little bit. I didn't grow up with it, but I can do pheasant hunting where I can get out and walk and move.
Yep.
The one time I tried to deer hunt and I had to sit in a deer stand, I quite honestly almost just threw myself out of the stand and then hoped to end it. I was so bored. So, my brain does not like that type of quiet. Maybe it's just the hunting aspect of it. I don't know, but because I can sit out in the morning on a calm lake and I can be fine, on the dock or whatever, casting a rod and reel and seeing if I can get any bites. But I there's just something about deer hunting that drove me nuts that I didn't like. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was super cold that day, but so
Like, yeah, it's
hunting.
crazy too.
Go ahead.
Oh, it's crazy too because like I'm the kind of person that always have to be, like go, 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 or always doing shit. And for me to actually sit down and be still or, as still as possible in a tree, then I'm still not perfect at that aspect of things. But um, it's definitely not my personality of the go, go, go to actually sit there and, wait. And it's not always about, killing per se. It's more about, enjoying nature and whatever out there too.
Yeah, I suppose that's part of it as well. Part of it is I have no business going out and hunting. I just know that. So,
Right.
unless
There you go.
I can shoot birds sometimes.
Yep.
But yeah, man, so like, hunting is like that's your recentering, that's your refocus. Like, does that also bring you like a lot of energy, or do you find that you get rejuvenated when you're back in the grind at work doing what you need to do to make your money? Like there's usually kind of like an ebb and flow in there.
I think it's a little bit of both, honestly. I think the biggest thing for me, it helps me think being out there and like kind of collect my thoughts. And yeah, it can give me more energy to, once I get, self-centered per se, or get those thoughts organized. But I think for me, what gives me, the more energy is finding your purpose or finding what pushes you every day to get out of fucking bed and go, accomplish the day. Right now for me, that is growing my business and, making my business more prosperous for my employees because I am responsible. A lot of, in my opinion, a lot of employees or business owners may not view it this way, but when you're an owner, you're responsible for your employees' livelihood. You're responsible for their families. If you're not doing your fucking job to make your business grow and make your business better, then you're basically, what's the word for it? Being detrimental to your employees.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that's really put me right now. And then my family, man, that's my other thing is my little guy is he'll be 5 in July and he watches everything I do and knowing that I have to be the example for my family and that, I don't get me wrong, I can fuck up and shit. And he explained that to him and make him understand, what's going on and that aspect of things. But just becoming a better person, a better man to lead my family, my employees right now has been the biggest thing that gets me up and going.
It's good for the kids to see us screw up and watch how we handle those situations. And I've got a 6-year-old and my daughter's 11, but and so I feel what you just said, deep in the bones, because it's like it's like I'll swear or something and he'll turn around and be like, "Yeah, what's wrong with you, you asshole?" I'm like, "Whoa, whoa."
Yep.
Like,
Been there.
I appreciate it. You used it in the wrong pretense, but no. But they do watch, right? I mean, they're super observant and observant, and they're always kind of watching our next steps. Kind of, honestly, kind of like employees do when they're around the business owner at work. Like they're always observing you to see what you're doing, how you're doing it, how do you represent the brand, and what do you expect out of them, when you show up to work? So I think that's a really key aspect of being a business owner and being a parent, right? Is you have these expectations, whether you, one sec here. Oh, right, guy's gonna cough up something. So whether you want that responsibility or not, you stepped into that role willingly.
Yep.
So now you have that responsibility. So like you have that responsibility to raise your kid, right? Take care of them, show them the right things to do, but also you have the right responsibility now to take care of your employees, like what you said. So as an owner yourself, have you found it difficult to find and hire employees, or have you had a pretty decent bout of fortune with longevity and retention with your employees?
I think that has come and gone in my time as an owner. In the beginning, I think it was I had the preconceived notion that it would be hard to find people in the lawn care landscaping industry because it's seasonal. So I was focused on just finding people to get by or finding people just for the season and not looking at the bigger picture of what if I grew more stuff in the winter time to provide them year round stuff. That means I could hold them on longer. I think it's I think when you're focusing on finding low quality, low, or I think if you're focusing on the fact that it's going to be hard to find employees, or your only employees that it's hard to, or employees right now are bad employees or whatever, I think that's what's going to be attracted to you more. But when I switched my mindset that if I started thinking that I'm only going to find good employees, or they are easy to find employees, or you change your business so that people want to be attracted to your company and what you're offering, and that word of mouth from other friends or people who work for you or see what you're doing, then you're going to find better employees that way because they'll be drawn to you.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
absolutely. So, like, you and I, we had a chance to sit by each other on the plane on the way down to the Uncaged event. And, one of the things that I really enjoyed about that was just having conversation about, employees and culture. And as important as culture is, I think that word gets thrown around way too much in the influencer sphere, right? Like, what are your core values?
Yep.
What's your culture? Right. But then when you actually dig in, it's like, yeah, they got these cool, like, core values hanging up on their wall, but then they don't do dick about it. Right. Like, they don't take care of their employee, give a shit about their employees. They're not check-ins on them. They're not building KPIs and the basic foundations of their business, aligned obviously at the top to what the owner wants, but then they're not fitting it into the strength of their employees, which I think is detrimental, as a company. But you take that all the way down to, like, the culture thing, right? And a lot of the times it's all surface level where it's like, yeah, the boss walked in, I'm going to smile and wave at him and be like, yeah, hi. But it's like, as soon as you turn your back on those people because you're not actually living your culture, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
like, I wish this guy would pay us more. He seems to be doing well, right? So, I think that culture piece is over encompassing everything from who you're hiring, how you hire them, how you do things in the day to day, but then also how you take care of them as you grow as an owner. Because I think that gets lost a lot in the wash. That
I completely agree with that.
yeah, the tying of the basic needs. So,
Yep.
what is what's something that unique that you've done in your time with Patriot, and maybe even more so going back a little bit further, what actually got you into the position that you're in right now?
I started out as an employee back in 2013, and the owner, my business partner Tony, he saw as an employee, saw my effort and my drive to become want to grow the company with him and whatnot. So I was granted ownership through that process of sweat equity, you would say. So that's been the biggest thing is just putting forth the effort each and every day, and trying to strive to grow the company better. Anything unique that I've done, I think the biggest thing that's helped me the past year, I've been I say I've been an owner for roughly 5 years or so, but I never ran my company as like a business. I never saw it as I never saw myself as a true owner. Like, I had the title owner, but didn't know the right or the wrong. I guess I didn't know the right ways to run a business. So what I started doing was self-improvement or self-development, honestly. I got part of a group called Uncaged, which you're obviously aware of. In the past year, that group alone has definitely changed my viewpoint on um, how to run a business and how to become better and successful. And just reading books, everyone, the story is, how does the saying go, that most people out of high school don't read a book ever again in their life or something like that. So, the books that I've read, and the 75 Hard program actually has been a big factor that got me into reading again, was just those different types of books and always learning. If you're not learning every day, you're going back in life. You're not growing. If you're not growing, then what's the purpose of being here per se, which is probably going to piss a lot of people off, but it's the fact that if you're not bettering yourself, then what value adding to society? What value adding to your family? What value, even if you're not an owner, you can still better yourself as an employee to add value to your company or other employees that you work with. I think there's a culture, or everyone's entitled, you know. So I think that's the biggest thing that's going on right now.
Yeah, entitlement's wild right now. Talking to other business owners in this, in the space and the blue collar industry and stuff, the amount of young people that want to come in and get paid the wages and have the job responsibilities that somebody that's been with the company for 10 years would normally have, right off the bat, is kind of wild. And honestly, I don't, having been in a hiring position for several years, I don't know when that shift happened where this thinking came out that, like, I don't have to work to get my way worked up the company. I can just jump in, and because of who I am and I'm special, I get to go be a boss at this company, but I have no work experience. So like, I've still tried to pinpoint that. I personally, as an elder millennial myself, blame it on Gen Z and their whole like participation award crap that they're getting through school and stuff. It's good to see that, like, my kids now aren't necessarily getting that same treatment at schools, right? Like, they don't get medals all the way down at sports and stuff now. They just, you get what you get. And I think that's such an important aspect of life. Is like, you get what you get. You're not special. Your issue isn't any different or more important than anybody else's issues that are out there. Our circumstances might be a little bit unique, but that's the beautiful part about life, is everybody has different circumstances, but we, for the most part, I think all have the same opportunities to, make the choices to better ourselves, to get to where we want to go. And one of those things is picking up a book and reading, as simple as it seems. So many people don't do it. Picking books up and reading.
Yeah.
It's so simple, but not enough people do it. And I'm not saying you need to read 52 books in a year or anything like that. I'd rather read like 4 or 5 really, really good books that have a lot of good things for me to.
Or even if you don't like reading, sometimes you can just take the Audible version of them and, learn that way too. Well, there's
Sometimes it's repetitious. Read the same book 3 or 4 times and then take and implement things in that book to better yourself and your business, right? Has there been a recent that you've been reading that you've been really garnering a lot of information off that you've been applying to your business lately in your life?
Well, there's been a few books. The biggest thing that's changed my life and the way I think is the book called The Law of Attraction. I won't go into it too much, but that's just a different thing with manifestation and creating what you want in life, and how your words and your thoughts are as powerful as they really are. Another book I'm reading right now is Your Next 5 Moves. That was currently right. That's been a good step into helping me figure out my next 5 moves basically, and how thinking ahead business wise. And another book that really hit me was Who, Not How. That one was because I used to be the face of the company, and I felt like I had to do everything my way, and I couldn't delegate, and didn't trust people in order to delegate. And then I learned that the more who's you have, the people to solve the problems that you currently are dealing with, or people who have different skill sets than you, use them to help build your company, help build your organization, that which will help you free up your time more.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
You've any books?
What's that?
Any books you've been reading?
Any books I've been reading lately? The biggest one that I've been reading through lately is Buy Back Your Time. That one and Atomic Habits. I've listened to Atomic Habits in my truck on my way to and from the Twin Cities probably like 4 or 5 times now in just this last like 7 months. And every time I listen to it, I get another little piece of like advice and tidbit of information. And that's what I'm starting to find with Buy Back Your Time, is that every time I listen to it, there's another little piece of advice that came out that I missed the first time. So then I write that down on my notes, something that I want to implement. So yeah, it's that aspect of it and reading itself, I used to listen to a morning show called Rise and Grind with Glenn Mundy. And one of the things stated on that show, and I fully agree with, is that the most comfortable we will ever be is like that moment right before we pass on from this world to the next. So why in the hell would you ever want to be comfortable? Because it's like, when we're the most comfortable, it's like that's when we're the closest to our deaths, typically, right? And the other piece of that, I think, too, is comfort is another form of addiction that I think people kind of just glaze over, right? Because it's like, I didn't have a rough life. I had a good upbringing. My life was very comfortable. And And that wasn't of itself an addiction to get out of that, desire of those comfortable routines, a consistent paycheck, um, a fairly easy job that like I knew inside and out, right? So what are some things that you've done as a boss and for yourself too to kind of like smash those comfort tendencies of yourself and your employees to make sure that your employees are getting the most of their time working for you, but on the same token that you continue to elevate yourself and your company so that your employees can elevate as well?
Hmm. Um, think just the way that I'm driven currently, and I've always been a driven person with goals and dreams. And I think that's really connected with me lately. That, like I said earlier, I think your purpose and really gets you outside that comfort zone. I try to put myself in uncomfortable situations. Like for a lot of guys who follow me and whatever on social media, I've known back in December I was doing those ice bath challenges for a while, and it's that there was doing something. You do something every day or do the hard things first in the day, things get easier and make you feel accomplished. So, I try to find something either each day or every week or something that, just I read a book called, and I'm probably gonna butcher it, but it's something along the lines of chosen suffering. And I had lost my daughter earlier this year, last year, and I believe he was a wrestling coach, and he lost his daughter, or his son also, who was about 5 or 6 years old. Mine was 6 months old, but he chose suffering, and the way he describes it is he chose something hard each day or within his life that then because he knew it was gonna grow him is the basic concept of the book without giving it too much away. And I kinda have that mantra in my head, pick the harder path each time instead of the easiest path. Yeah. Is it easy to get in your car and see that shopping cart in the parking lot, or is it a little bit harder to go out, grab that shopping cart and push it back in? So, I try to lead by example when it comes down to my employees. Um, Try to learn what ticks a little bit, what makes them tick and what kind of, be their bad habits. And, I don't like shove my ways down their throat because I can only lead. You can only lead a horse to water. You can't make it drink. So, I just show with what I'm doing on a daily basis for my family and my employees that, it is possible to change. People met me 5 years ago. I'm not the same fucking person I was, 5 years ago or even fucking 6 months ago. I think it's evolution of being a human is to grow and to, better yourself and push yourself to that next limit because you don't know what your body is capable of. You don't know what your mind's capable of. So I just sit there and be comfort.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I had read a book. Oh my gosh, this was a while ago. It was a J.R. Was it a Tolkien book or was it a? Oh my gosh, they're gonna drive me nuts now. Can't remember who it was, but it was a book on pain, right? And the basic essential topic of that, we hear it so often. It's like choose your suffering, right? Like no matter what you do, no matter the type of life you live, you are always going to be forced into suffering in one way, shape, or form because regardless of what nationality, religion, whatever it is you are, almost all religions believe that at some point in time we did something to screw up that caused pain and suffering to enter this world or existence. Me being a Christian, obviously, it's fall of man. When we ate the apple or whatever the fruit was in the Garden of Eden. So from that point on, it just put us onto this course of like, no matter what we did in life, suffering was always going to be a part of it, right? And you see this in social media all the time. It's like, yeah, it's hard to get into shape. It's hard to have a good relationship. It's hard to run a good business. It's hard to raise your kids right. It's hard, right? But on the flip side of that, I think it is equally, if not more so, as hard to be, unhappy with yourself because you're a fat slob that, isn't doing and
Yeah.
potentially you think you should be. Um, it's almost harder to be like a negligent boss because then you always end up being your own business, right? Because you never get any employees. So like by choosing to just be lazy and unfocused in your business. You chase away employees, you chase away potential jobs. So like there's a lot to be said about that. Just like one of my favorite sayings is just embrace the suck. Like it sucks to
Yes.
be alive, But are you going to let it be the type of suck that drains you of your energy, or are you going to be the type of suck that you embrace and just know that that's part of life, or you're going to take it in stride and roll on with it? So, um, with that aspect, being said, as a blue collar business owner, I do have to ask you this part too. Um, if you could spend your entire day doing one thing in your business, what would it be and why?
Any like business, like one thing in my business, like focusing on my business, you mean?
Nah, just like if there was like one job you could just go do and you could do that all day for any stretch of time, like what is the one thing like you could do that you would be content doing? That could be snowplow driving, it could be skid loader, whatever.
Oh shit. I personally do enjoy plowing snow. Like I'm that crazy guy who loves to plow snow. I think it might probably have to be a little bit with my OCD that I love seeing it, the before and after. Like when you get onto a snow account and it's covered with 3 inches of snow or whatever, and you just see that your work being, to take it back one step here. I think the other thing that we were talking about, like when you're talking about it sucks to work out and sucks to this, and this, you know, people don't see the results that are coming from all this hard work they're putting in. So they don't want to put that hard work in because we're so used to instant gratification, which plowing stone for me is a slight instant gratification because you can see the lot becoming clearer as you go. And I think that really helps with the OCD per se. So yeah, I think plowing stone for me would be one job that I could definitely do. Obviously, you know, not 18, 20 hours straight, you kind of get sick of it after a while, but it is, that's definitely one thing I do enjoy in the company.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You can only do something for so long before you just mentally get completely fatigued.
Oh yeah.
Um, One last thing, before we jump off and end this here, uh, what overall has been your favorite experience in the last, what I think you said 5 years, 5, 6 years that you've actually ran the business? Like, what's been your favorite experience in that time frame?
Um, Honestly, learning the ins and outs, learning how to better my company, learning how to be a better boss, friend, and employee, and help my employees. The basic overall, we've like basically hit on this podcast for the most part, between you and I, and like we talked about in the plane, is the learning and growing aspect of things. So, how I can do better in business. I can't really pinpoint one exact thing that's been the best. I know where I was a few years ago. I was being complacent. I was doing the lazy things. I wasn't pushing myself to become a better owner. I just figured since I had the title owner that I had a business, everything would come to me. You have to fucking work hard, and it's people back to the entitlement thing again. Just because you have, those certain things doesn't mean you're obligated to be given, accounts, or, just because you have or you have one account doesn't mean you're going to get it the next year. You still have to, build those relationships or work on those relationships, and train your employees to become better assets for the company. I think to me, it's a whole puzzle that we're still I'm so fucking young in this thing that it's, putting the pieces together for the puzzle in the big scheme to see where this thing's going to go in 5 to 10 years is really, really exciting to me.
Yeah. No, that's cool, man. Um, for anybody that might be listening that could use your services in the area that you're at, what is the best way or even just somebody that wants to chat, shop with you and maybe I don't like using the word pick your brain because that sounds like they're wasting time, but maybe just ask some questions, get some feedback, and maybe even be able to provide you value. What's the best way to get a hold of you, man?
Best way to get a hold of me would be either Facebook and Instagram. It's Dylan, Dillin, Brassette, Brissette. And that's either or Instagram. I think it's at Brissette11, and Facebook is just Dylan Brassette. As for the company, Patriot Lawn and Landscaping.com or Patriot Lawn Landscaping on Facebook.
Cool, man. I appreciate you having you on, you being able to jump on Machine Zone. Absolutely, man. And hopefully we'll have a chance to do this after I get these episodes rolled out and down the line as we kind of grow and mature and see where some of this stuff leads to. So
I have a feeling we'll definitely be on more podcasts together, buddy.
All right. Thanks, man. Thanks everybody who was listening. If you want to be a guest on the podcast, Roll Up and Roll Out, and you are a blue collar business owner who, like I said before, maybe you don't have your GED, or maybe you do, who cares, but you got your GSD because you know how to get shit done and take care of business. If that fits you and you want to be on this podcast, just reach out to me on Facebook. That's Paul Childers, and you'll find that on Facebook. Again, thank you for being on, Dylan. Appreciate your time. And until next time, folks, take it easy.